Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to give you all, or tell you all of my 5-star reads from the start of my reading journey, which was May earlier this year, to now. If you look on my Goodreads, I'm pretty sure you can do this. I'm pretty sure you can scroll through all my books that I've read and see all my ratings and see which ones I've given 5 stars. Some of those books are not going to be in this list simply because even from May, what I like to read has changed since then. I've figured out what I like to read more, type of genres, type of writing, all of that. And some of the books, the previous books that I gave 5 stars, I changed my mind on that rating now. I wouldn't keep those 5 stars now. I would drop the rating a bit. All the books that are going to be in this video are the 5 stars that I still stand by and would still give 5 stars and would recommend to literally anybody to read. 1 star means I absolutely hated it. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. Hated the writing, hated the plot, just hated the book. Wouldn't recommend it to anybody. A 2-star would mean that I didn't absolutely hate the book, but I still wouldn't recommend it to anybody and it just wasn't for me. I didn't like it, I didn't like the plot, I didn't like the writing, whatever. A 3-star is like, meh, it's mid. Like I didn't absolutely love it, I didn't hate it. I would recommend it to somebody to read. It just wasn't one of my favorites, you know? A 4-star is a really great rating, obviously. If I gave a book a 4-star, I would recommend it to anybody to read. It was a book that I loved. It was the type of book I loved, the type of genre, the type of, it just all hit, you know? And then a 5-star, I would recommend to literally anybody to read, and you won't find me shutting up about it if it's 5-star. So, and everything about it was just perfect, perfecto. Just gave me that 5-star feeling, you know? Let's get into it. So the first book we have is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. This might be controversial, I don't know, but I gave this one a 5-star and I would still stick by that rating. And this was the first book that I ever read, like as an adult. This book got me back into reading. It got me back into reading. And I know that there's controversy with Colleen Hoover, whatever. I have to give credit to this book for getting me into reading. It was a really good book. We gotta give that to Miss Colleen Hoover. It was actually a really good book. Like, and the fact that it gets so many other people into reading too, like I am not the only one whatsoever. It's gotten so many people into reading as an adult. So, but read your trigger warnings. 100% read your trigger warnings with this book. Basically, this book is about Lily. Her dream is to be a florist, and she ends up becoming a florist, and she ends up meeting this guy named Ryle, and we go from there. We follow along their story, and I say read your trigger warnings because there is abuse in this book, and there's just some really heavy and sensitive topics in this book. Lily goes through it. This girl goes through it, unfortunately. So, but I do really like the representation that this book had. That was another really big thing that made it a 5-star for me, was the representation that this book had. Because for people who haven't been in situations like this, Colleen helped the people who haven't been in that situation to see from that perspective why it's so hard to leave those relationships and just stuff like that. So I really appreciated that she did that. And this book was just really good. It was good. I didn't love the sequel as much, but 5-star, hands down. Next, I would say Hopeless. And I'm gonna say, when I got into reading, Colleen Hoover I read It Ends With Us, which was my first book, and after that I went on like a Colleen Hoover rampage basically. And so a lot of these books, some of these books, not a lot of them, are the first few ones are going to be by Colleen Hoover, because that's the first author I read for a little while until I eventually ventured out of her. This book just holds a special place in my heart. Like, this whole series is just amazing. This whole series is amazing. That's upside down. Just dropped it too. There we go. Now that's the right side up. This whole series is amazing. I love this whole series. I would recommend it to anybody. But one thing I would say is that there's, not in this book, but in some of the other books, once you get deeper into the series, there's like some pregnancy tropes and stuff like that, and some sensitive topics with pregnancy. So if you're not into that trope, or if that's a trigger for you, maybe just don't read those specific books in the series. But I would 100% recommend the Hopeless series to anybody. I will not shut up about this series. When I first read this book and then finished the whole series, I would not shut up about it to my best friend. I really would not. It was bad. She was probably so annoyed. This book is about Sky. And we also have Holder, I think. Dean Holder. Holder is his last name. We have Sky and Holder. Or we have, oh my god. We have Sky and Dean. We're following their story together as two people, but we're also finding out more about her past. And they are in high school. We follow them through like middle school and then throughout high school and stuff like that. And Dean knows certain stuff about Sky's past that Sky doesn't know. And Sky has this mother. Her mother doesn't allow her to have a phone. She doesn't watch TV. She's not allowed to have any internet access whatsoever. Nothing of the sort. She's very strict in terms of that. And we come to find out why, and it gets crazy. It gets crazy. Okay? It's crazy. So yeah, I would recommend this to anybody. And then we have Finding Perfect by Colleen Hoover, and it's a little baby tiny novella, the tiniest novella I have ever read. I probably finished this within 5 or 10 minutes, I don't even know. But this is the very last and final book in the Hopeless series. And when I read this, the fact that I gave this a 5-star, a little baby tiny novella, was mind-blowing to me. Mind-blowing to me. Like, that might sound crazy, but this was a 5-star to me. It was the perfect ending. I'm not gonna tell you what it's about, because you just need to read the series. And if I tell you what this one's about, it's gonna spoil some stuff, so. But it's literally amazing. Made me cry a little bit. It was the best ending ever to that series. I couldn't have asked for anything better or more. It was perfection. Perfection. And it's a little baby novella. Next we have Verity by Colleen Hoover, and everybody and their mom has heard of this book, I bet you. But 5-star, hands down. 5-star, her best book, I think. This is the most well-written, the craziest plot ever. The craziest plot ever and the craziest twist ever. I will tell you right now, I've read a few thrillers since then, and I still have yet to read anything like this book. And I don't think I will ever read anything like this book. This book is so unique, and it's so good. Trigger warnings again, read your trigger warnings. There's, again, some pregnancy stuff in here. This book is crazy. It's about Verity, but we're following Lowen. She is a writer, and she's struggling financially. And she's struggling to make ends meet. And eventually this company, this publishing company, basically reaches out to her and is like, hey, something unfortunate happened with Verity. She's in a coma basically, and we need you to finish her books. Are you down? So she says yes, and so she ends up going to Verity, and Jeremy is Verity's husband, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. She ends up going to their house, and she plans on staying there for like a week or a weekend or whatever it was, but that doesn't end up happening because stuff goes down. But she's there to get familiar with Verity's writing and the books that she has unfinished, that she has yet to finish. So, and some stuff happens. Lowen finds a manuscript that Verity wrote, and we go from there. And it's absolutely crazy. It is crazy. Also, if you've read the book, leave the comments spoiler free, please. But if you've read the book, team manuscript or team letter? I'm personally team manuscript. Then we have Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. I think this is the last Colleen Hoover book. Yes, okay, this is the last Colleen Hoover book in our stack here. But this is one of my favorites, hands down. Hands down one of my favorites by Colleen Hoover. This book shattered my heart. Oh my gosh. It's not pregnancy, but there's like some mother-daughter stuff that might be hard to read if you're a mother. So just look that up. But this book it was beautiful. It was beautiful. The ending, it was so good. Basically, we're following Kenna, and she went to jail for a little. She did some time for a certain reason. And while she was in there, she was pregnant. She got pregnant and she gave birth to her daughter. But since she was in jail, she obviously couldn't keep her daughter. So her daughter ended up going to live with the father's parents. And something happened with the father. And when she ends up getting out of jail, she wants to find her daughter. She wants to connect with her daughter, get to know her daughter, be a mother to her daughter. And we're going from there with the struggles that she has to try to just at least see her daughter, lay eyes on her daughter. It's It's heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking, let me tell you. But when you get to the end, it is worth it. It is so good. It's beautiful. Highly, highly recommend you also read this one by Colleen Hoover. Then we have The Housemaid's Secret by Frida McFadden. This is the second book in the Housemaid series. It's a duology. The Housemaid is the first book, and then this is the second book, The Housemaid's Secret. I gave The Housemaid 4 stars, and I gave this one 5 stars, obviously. This one was just better. The first one was really good, but this one was just better. I literally finished this in one day. I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, I finished this in one day in like one sitting. It was crazy. I can't remember her name for the life of me, but we're following this maid slash like nanny. And in the first book, I'm not going to tell you what happens in this book because it's the second book, but the whole plot really is that we're following this maid. Can't remember her name, I apologize. And she gets hired for this family who lives in a smaller town, but they live in this giant house in this mansion, and it's going great at first, but then the mother starts acting weird and strange towards her, towards like the maid, and she's just being really rude. She's blaming stuff on her that is not her fault. It gets crazy. Again, another book, another series everybody and their mom has heard about, and for good damn reason. I have Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. This is 2 authors, actually. It's a combination of their name, which is really cool. And another book everybody has heard of. And I was so late to reading this book, so late, just because I got into reading just this year. So, but boy, am I glad I read it. This book was so good. It was so good. I cried. I cried at the end. I did. I cried. Ain't got no shame about it. I ain't got no shame about it, okay? But basically, we're following Macy and Elliot. We're following Macy and Elliot. They are friends of the sorts when they're children, and then they end up having to go their separate ways in life and separate for specific reasons, and then they end up coming back together as adults because something unfortunate happens, and she ends up getting called back to this motel slash vacation hotel type thing that her mom owns, I believe. And yeah, so then they kind of like rekindle and we go from there. It's really good. It is really good. You have to read it. It's just, look at that cover, like the little coffee. This one just gives fall vibes to me. Like it gives summer vibes, but then when it's fall, it also gives fall vibes. So if you want to read this in fall, a lot of these honestly would be great to read in the fall. Then we have Local Woman Missing by Mary Kubica. And I feel like my rating is unpopular. After I read this book and went on TikTok, as you do, I saw bad ratings, bad reviews, to be honest, which like appalled me. I was so surprised because I loved this book. I was on the edge of my seat. I stayed up until the butt crack of dawn reading this book because I could not put it down. Like, I think I stayed up till like 3 a.m. reading this book or something like that. Some crazy hour in the night, in the morning, whatever you want to call it. The plot twist, bro. I personally didn't see them coming. Once we got closer to them, just because I like to try to guess stuff, once we got closer to them and she was kind of hinting a little bit, I was like, okay, yeah, this is gonna happen. Like, this is probably gonna happen. And majority of the time I was right, but I was still like blown away when it happened. The plot twists are crazy. They're crazy. I personally did not see them coming from a mile away like some other people, so I guess it just depends on the type of reader you are. But I loved this book and I would recommend it to anybody. This is another book that I will not shut up about. It was so good. But basically this woman, Shelby, goes missing in the middle of the night, and then a little bit down the road, a mother and her daughter, I think, go missing. I'm pretty sure is what it is, or maybe it's just the daughter goes missing. I don't remember. But so then we're going through this whole story of trying to find her, and then this other girl and this other girl ends up popping up into the story, and we get fooled, and you know, we go from there. It is crazy. It is crazy. You have to read this. Another book, perfect, absolutely perfect for the fall time. It's a thriller mystery, and it's just fall vibes. Then we have Twisted Hate and Twisted Games from the Twisted Love series. These were my favorite books in the series. I gave these both 5 stars, especially Twisted Games. My personal opinion, Twisted Games is my favorite. My favorite overall in the series. I absolutely loved it. This series is a dark romance series. So there's some spice. But in this one we are following Jules and Josh. This is the 3rd book in the series. Twisted Hate is the 3rd book in the series. Josh is Ava's brother and Jules is Ava's best friend. So it's like a kind of forbidden type relationship because Jules is Ava's best friend and Josh is Ava's brother. So it's like kind of forbidden-ish. But we're following their story, their romance. And yeah, that's basically what it is. There's obviously stuff that happens in it and there's a lot more to it. I gave it 5 stars. But that's like the main plot of what it is. We're following their story. We're following also their individual lives, their careers, and stuff like that. So it's crazy. They're big. They're big books. Minus the first one, I think they're all like 500 something pages, something like that. But I was not complaining. I think it was the perfect amount, which is crazy because with romance books, I don't think they need to be that big. They don't. There's no reason. But in this series and with certain books, it's actually perfect. And I am grateful for it. Then we have Twisted Games, which is the 2nd book in the series. And we are following Bridget. We're following Bridget and Reese is his name. I don't know about you, but when I was reading this book, I was pronouncing his name in my head as Rise. Which, if you haven't read this book, you're probably like, wow, that's not even a name that exists. Why would you pronounce it like that? I don't know. But on TikTok, I found out I wasn't the only one pronouncing it like Rise. It looks like Rise, and I honestly like Rise better. Rise is cooler than Reese. So Reese is not a bad name, don't get me wrong, it's a cool name, but with like his character, I think Rise fits him better. So we're following their story. Bridget is princess of her hometown, and Rise is her and Reese is her bodyguard. So it's a princess and bodyguard story, falling for the bodyguard. So that's what you're into. I definitely recommend reading this because it is super good. This is my favorite book in the series. Hands down. It's amazing. It's so good. So yeah, we're following their romance story and also their individual lives in terms of Bridget being princess and eventually having to move up in the ranks to take care of her not her castle, but her city, her town, her whatever, her people, and how Rise is mixed up into the mix, put into the mix. So it's just, it's perfection. Then we have, last but not least, the Magnolia Park series. I don't have the 2nd book in here, Daisy Hates, because I gave that one a 4 out of 5 stars. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It was literally just as amazing as these. It didn't give me the 5-star feeling that the rest of these did. So, if you haven't heard of the Magnolia Park series yet, I don't know what you're doing. You must be living under a rock. You either hate this series or you love it. So, I loved it. I freaking absolutely loved it, dude. I gave 3 of the books 5 stars in the whole series. And yes, they're different sizes, okay? Let's not talk about it. These 2 are the same size. This one's smaller. I don't want to talk about it, okay? I don't want to talk about it. Really what this series is like, think Gossip Girl. Think Gossip Girl and you've got it pretty spot on about what this is about. It's not based on that show, but just how it's written, and it's just like Gossip Girl. It's basically like Gossip Girl. But we're following BJ and Magnolia Parks, BJ Valentine, and their story. And it's just toxic, constantly, like, they're not together, but they're together, you know? And so basically this whole series is them just going at it, just getting revenge on each other in like these toxic ways, just basically Gossip Girl. But it's amazing. It's amazing. And then in the Daisy Hates books, this is the 2nd Daisy Hates book, The Great Undoing. Daisy Hates The Great Undoing. We're following Daisy and Christian, and we're following their romance story and their whole toxicity, and Daisy's brother is a mafia, he's a gang lord, basically. He's a gang lord. And so she lives this like super high stake life, and we're following that as well. And we get POVs from a lot of other characters, like her brother, which is a lot. And it's amazing. You're gonna love it. You'll either love it or you'll hate it. So, the writing, okay. I'm gonna give like, I haven't discussed this anywhere on social media, but I feel like these books are bad. Hold on. These books aren't bad, but they're just so good. Like, you just love them. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't know if it was just my versions of the books, but in my versions, there were a lot of typos and just stuff that was missed in the editing process. Again, it could have been my editions of the books. But there were a lot of typos and a lot of stuff that was missed in the editing process. So, but like, I could look past it. Like, I noticed it every time and I was like, oh, okay. But I didn't care, clearly, because I gave them all 5 stars. I'm not going to talk about each book individually, but all 3 of these are 5 stars. These 2 books, Magnolia Parks and then Magnolia Parks, The Long Way Home, are about Magnolia Parks and BJ. It's all one series, and I would recommend reading them all in the correct order, but each one is specifically about a certain relationship. So, and then we have Daisy Hates the Great Undoing, and then just the regular Daisy Hates, which is the first Daisy Hates, and that's about Daisy and Christian and Daisy's family and just all that. It's crazy, dude. It's freaking crazy, but it's amazing. It's amazing. One of my favorite series that I've read, and I think that will stand for a while. So, I love these books personally, but those are all of the books that I have given 5 stars that I stick to the 5-star rating that I gave them. I think there were only select few that weren't in here that I gave 5 stars that I would change my rating for. I don't think it was very many. I think a lot of them were probably just Colleen Hoover books when I first got into reading, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. These are all so good. 5 stars. I think most of those were Colleen Hoover books, probably. So, but those are all the books that I've given 5 stars from May this year to September this year. And I kind of want to do this, like, I want to do this periodically throughout my channel, like give an updated one. I think that'd be fun. That would be fun. I want to do that. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Maybe we have some similar 5 stars in here. Yeah, if you guys have any recommendations that you want to give that you gave 5 stars, you want to drop them in the comments, that'd be amazing. Drop them for me or for other people. And I will see you guys in the next one.